us here at First Mennonite Church. We are part of the broader Mennonite Church USA. There's a wide spectrum from conservative to liberal. We would be probably more on the liberal, progressive side of things here at First Mennonite Church. We welcome anyone to our community, to our church. We feel like that kind of care for our neighbors is a very important part of our church here. He is filming the service this morning, and I really appreciate it.
The beginning of the Mennonite Church is with a ceremony that happened in the city of Zurich on January 21, 1525. This was a small gathering of a Bible study group that had been studying the New Testament, and one of the conclusions they reached was that baptism should be given upon confession of faith to adult believers rather than given to children when they are born.
And we learn that we are called to live our lives in humility.
There is a strong emphasis from the very beginning in the Mennonite Church on a kind of practical faith of applying the teachings of Christ to everyday life, to daily life. Mennonites came to North America with many of the historic waves of European immigrants in the late 1600s. They settled in Pennsylvania. The Swiss Mennonites that settled in this community were a relatively late migration of Mennonites. By that time, Europe had become more tolerant of Anabaptist teachings, but they were still somewhat second-class subjects in Europe. They came primarily for two reasons: for land and religious freedom. Early 1830s, the federal government was in the process of moving the indigenous people in northwest and west central Ohio out west past the Mississippi River. In 1833, land became available for sale from the federal government here in northwest Ohio. There was a schism in the Swiss-German Anabaptist network, the Amish Mennonite Schism, in 1693. It was to some extent about how rigorous a separation from the surrounding society the church practiced.
Don't be bashful. Let's move on up there.
Mennonites were sometimes more open to being more integrated into their surrounding communities. But there were always also Mennonites who were more separated from the surrounding society. The Reformed Mennonite Church in this community is an example of that more traditional emphasis on being non-conform to the world, separated from society, having a distinct form of dress that doesn't follow the fashions and fads of the surrounding community. This is a congregation that we're part of this community. We are not separated from the world in our daily life. We want to practice our faith in a public and visible way. This was a large church building. It stood out in town, built with stained glass windows, which aren't typically found in Mennonite churches. It joined the other Protestant and the Catholic Church here in town as one expression of Christian faith. The churches in town were more influenced by ecumenical Protestantism. First Mennonite was certainly more influenced by what the Presbyterians were doing and the Lutherans were doing. So First Mennonite is the most socially progressive of all of those congregations. This is a congregation, for example, that has adopted an LGBTQ inclusive statement, welcoming queer people to membership, to ministry, and to marriage in our congregation.
In the Mennonite Church, especially in the past at least 100 years, one of the strengths of the Mennonites has been four-part singing. So we do sing soprano, alto, tenor, bass in parts, sometimes a cappella without accompaniment, sometimes with organ or piano accompaniment. But Our congregation has learned to sing in that way, so it's a real gift to our worship services.